Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
And the time in SVG, it is 8:10, quickly approaching 8:11. And as mentioned earlier, we are going to be conducting our political conversation series. And with us in studio today is Honorable Curtis King. Of course, we are joined by our Monday morning co-host, Dr. Gerald Thompson. So we are going to, be posing questions to Minister King on the What We Want to Know political conversation series. Minister King, good morning to you, and of course, good morning, Doc.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, and of course, good morning to our many listeners home and abroad. It's feel real great to be back in the studio. I hosted a program here for a number of years, Tuesday Night Feedback, so feel good again.
Normal, but you're on that side this time.
Yes, but I've been on this side and the other programs at WEFM.
Right. All right. And how is everything going so far?
Fine. I mean, you always have to thank God for his journeys and his mercies. Yeah, so I'm fine.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. So let's kick it off, right? My first question to you is that you are an educator for several years. What inspired you to go into politics?
Okay. Well, let me put it this way. Yes, I've been an educator for over 3 decades, but I was also a very active member of my community, providing service to persons, whether it was youth, community work, credit unionism, local history, you name it, I was very much part of it. My interest has always been in the social, economic, political development of my community, and I've put myself in a position to make that sort of contribution. So it was natural after I would have completed my professional duties, if you like, as an educator. And with more years, I retired at age 55. And I didn't think that was a time when I should be lying around idle. And given also that persons have always seen me as being in that position to make the sort of contribution that I have made over the years, they felt that it was a natural thing to move to that level where you can enhance your own capacity to deliver to the people. And basically, I ran with the flow.
Okay, so it was just for you a smooth transition into
smooth
politics.
Transition. Something I love doing, serving people at the highest level. Why not?
Was it a feeling more like you felt like you were called to do it, or were the people behind you in terms of thinking that you would be a good fit in the political realm?
I figured that the people pushed me into this direction. You know, seriously, I first got engaged in public life in 1982 when I went to my first annual general meeting of the National Youth Council at Caliocor. And I went to participate, not necessarily to be elected as leader or in the leadership of the National Youth Council. After all, as a teenager, and I had heard so much about the NYC and felt, let me go and participate. But the people elected me as treasurer at that very early stage of my development in youth work. So it has been that sort of thing with me. With the credit union movement, the same thing happened. I went there thinking, man, why not help in terms of serving on the supervisory committee? Then persons were like, boy, you're president material, let us push you on the board. And naturally, I would respond positively in any way that I can help. That has been the story of my life.
Okay.
Seeing you're speaking about your involvement so enthusiastically, I would say. So I would assume that you are enjoying being a politician, you're enjoying your role in serving your community. How would you say that you have served them, or how would you think, or what do you think they would say about your service to them over the years?
Well, let me put it this way and being realistic. The records will speak for themselves. Where persons are concerned, if you are a supporter of the ULP, people obviously would say that I've done well. If you are a supporter of the NDP, they would say I'm not doing well. I focus more on what the records say. In other words, I believe in evidence. I am not worried about the comments. If you are to be worried about the comments, believe me, Gerald will tell you, you won't get anywhere. I am focused, very focused on doing what I was elected to do. That is to serve and represent the people. And for me, it has been an easy transition. As I made the point, I'm rooted in my community, always been there, always making that contribution, always using my limited resources, my time, my energy, and organization skills, even before I get involved in politics. So that's what I'm saying. It's so natural.
Okay, so based on, so we're talking about evidence, or you brought up evidence. What for you has been the most rewarding or successful engagement or activity? And we're going to look at it from three standpoints. From the constituency level, from within your ministry, and from the under the ULP's government. What has been the most rewarding experience in those three categories for you?
Okay, if I start nationally, I would say the continued transformation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to a level where we can say now we on the verge of providing a quality of human life that is first world. I would say that is my most rewarding experience under the ULP. In every aspect of our lives, we can see significant improvement. And as I'm saying, we know that we are going to continue to that level where independent sources would agree that we are at this level. In terms of the constituency, that was the second one. Look, a number of things have happened during my stewardship. I make the point all the time. Development is a process, okay? It is not compartmentalized in this little part here and that little part there. There's an overall picture, and that is why we always articulate a clear vision for the development of St. Vincent, so that when we start speaking about the pieces, you can understand what we are talking about. In the case of West St. George, I clearly articulated a vision within the broader national vision, where I have said and continuously say this, that we have three distinguishing features in the constituency. At the southern end, we have a major commercial area. In the middle area, we have what you have a suburban community, a middle-income community developing. And at the northern end, you have great potential there for agriculture and tourism. And look, West St. George is one of the fastest growing constituency in terms of population size and economic activities. And as such, we can say that the vision for the southern zone is the creation of a city in that commercial sector. And we are seeing that unfold before our very eyes. I always speak to this ad. There's a popular ad on the radio that says, you don't have to go to Kingston to do some basic shopping things. As a matter of fact, everything that you would want, you can do in the West St. George constituency. I love that ad because it's a clear manifestation of the development of the constituency. So there's at the macro level, right? In terms of the micro level, look, one of the first things, and I consider this to be extremely important, one of the first things that happened during my stewardship is that we offered lands to persons who are living in what we refer to as an informal settlement at Queen's Drive, in the upper part of Cain Hall, that Queen's Drive area, at 50 cents per square foot. These are persons who are living on these lands. People call it squat lands. And we offer them, say, look, those lands that you have been living on, here's your opportunity to own them. And this is Queen's Drive. And you are selling lands there for 50 cents a square foot. The other issue, and I mean, I'll just say one, there are so many that it's...
Well, no, call them out. So you'll be seeking re-election, so call them out.
Yeah, it's hard to just say one. Of course, as an educator, I would have a natural bias towards education. And I'd identified this one, in addition to providing general support to the schools. What I like about this one is that it is part of that transformation that we are speaking about. I'm talking about the development of the West St. George Secondary School, where my vision is that by next year, or let us say 2027 latest, we will have a full TVET curriculum at that school, where students now are not limited in any way with what they want to achieve in their own life circumstances, because the TVET offerings would be such that they can find their space in that way. We have established a food preparation lab at that school during last year and this year. On Thursday of this week, we will be there distributing items, the tools and so on, the items needed for that lab to function. And I really love this part. I mean, there's so many other things I could say in education, but I know time is always limited. But that, for me, is a great part of the effort transforming the community, because this project is not only open to the students, but there is a community component in that. Allied to that is the fact that we have suffered greatly in West St. George with regards to the use of our resource center, the Doris Mackey Resource Center, and our community center at Daphne. Albeit we understand, because what happened, those two facilities serve as shelters for persons who were impacted either by the volcano or by the many storms. In fact, we only recently were able to build a house, and persons saw that one on TV, a prefab house, so that we could relocate the youngster who was in that community center, the upper part of shelter. We are rebuilding the clinic, and I'd come to that. So the clinic had, the Belair clinic that is, so the Belair clinic had to be housed somewhere, and that is occupying the other part of the community center. Similarly, the Doris Mackey Center, we have been hosting a number of persons. A number of them are not from our constituency, but we can't just throw them out on the street. So in one part of the building, it's a shelter, and in the upper part of the building, we are hosting the road unit, the people who are responsible for the National Road Rehabilitation Project, which is also making a contribution to not only West St. George, but the entire country. So you see the difficulty we have had in terms of utilizing those facilities for the wonderful programs, especially what happened at Doris Mackey Center before. That was like the training capital, yes, where every sort of training activity was held. And we miss that. At Daphne, as I'm saying, there are so many persons who are willing to organize, whether it's electrical programs or food preparation, but we couldn't have that. But thank God, right now, with the support of the Indian government under what is called the Indian Quick Pack program, we are doing some renovation to that building. And although we won't have the entire building until the Belair Clinic is completed, at least we'll have the upper part of the building so that we could continue some of the training that we used to do there before. And again, in the West St. George constituency, the Belair Clinic that used to serve for the entire Calico district before there was a clinic in Calico and a popular health facility. During my stewardship, we repaired that clinic. Unfortunately, when we look at the repairs, we felt that, yes, optics-wise look good, but we need to enhance the services that are being offered there. And to do that, we have to do a complete upgrade. And so if persons passing and seeing the center, the clinic enclosed, and they know already that it was relocated, what is happening there? We are commencing work on a $3.7 million project to upgrade that clinic.
And by upgrading, would it be now becoming like a polyclinic?
Smart clinic.
Smart clinic.
Yes,
okay.
and offering more services. Yeah.
Roleza, Dianna, let me slip in here. You know, I let them take the lead on this. I usually am able to squeeze it because you said a couple of things. I know we only have about 5 minutes left before the break.
You have three.
What?
Three and a
3
piece.
minutes. But I want to put this out. You've talked about West St. George, and in particular Anna's Vale, being this whole new commercial center, the beginning of a new city with a hospital and all that, and all the businesses you're seeing are growing around it. And of course, the growth of West St. George parallel that of East St. George in terms of large constituencies.
Yeah.
There's been a suggestion that constituency like yours bleeding people from Kingston, and that there's been a suggestion, I think, by the leader of the opposition that they should build some low-income or middle-income houses in Kingston so as to bring people back in Kingston. Which view do you think is correct? Would you like to see people moving back from West St. George back into Kingston because of this? So that suggestion by the leader of the opposition to build houses in Kingston so as to bring people back in Kingston to make Kingston more viable. What is your views on that idea?
Well, I'm surprised to hear the opposition talking about building houses because they have not demonstrated in any way whatsoever that they are committed to building houses for persons. So to start with, I wouldn't take them seriously on that. But I am focused on what is happening in West St. George. Let us face it, we have commenced a process that is unreversible. The government policies plus the people, whether they are business people or ordinary citizens, they are responding positively. So that you see the lanes, the A's, you name them, the utilities, you name it, every important sector of business moving out to Annisville. So we have commenced a process. So I would not talk about moving back. I am more focused on how we order this development, bring order to the development within that West St. George location so that the entire country can benefit. And that is why we talk not just about establishing a modern city, but that modern city is basically one that we took as a wellness city. That is why the anchor projects there. One, it's the acute care hospital, which is progressing magnificently. That is why we have those plain facilities at the southern end. And we have lighted it. We have lit the Annisville playing field, something that was there to be done for ages, never was done. We did that. And we are further going to develop that what you refer to as the netball court, making that into an indoor facility. So that when we talk about establishing in that commercial area, modern city, right? It is going to be a city that would fit into what is the ambience out there and so on.
Okay, Minister King, we have to put a pin here as it's time for us to bring to today's court's desk. We will take a break and then we'll be back with more conversation with Minister Curtis King. And at that time as well, in that next session, we'd also invite you to make your calls. All right. So let's head on out at this time.